So I'm at the park with my son, and he's autistic. A little bit about myself. I took growth hormone injections from the age of 3 to 12 because of hypopituitarism and hypothyroidism. And I started having IC symptoms at the age of 3 with frequency and urgency and recurring UTIs. I was on macro bids so many times I thought I was going to turn into a black and yellow pill. After I stopped growth hormone injections, I still continued to have frequency and urgency. And at the age of 12, I got my first menstrual cycle. And it was horrible. The pain was so bad, I passed out. I got married at the age of 18, and I got pregnant with my first child 2 years after I got married. It took quite a while. I didn't even think I could have kids, but it turns out I could. And so I was a month overdue with my first child, and she was 9 pounds 7 ounces. So hello, pelvic floor dysfunction and rectocele. And then a couple years later, I got pregnant with my son, and I was induced with him on my due date, and he was 8 pounds 6 ounces. I knew I was done having kids, and so I decided to have, it was supposed to be the Escher. However, whenever they knocked me out, they woke me up and told me the different gynecologist did my surgery. He did a laparoscopy. He punctured a hole in my uterus, and he said that he found endometriosis, so he cauterized the endometriosis and then cauterized my tubes. And my periods got a little bit better after that, but then they were still pretty bad. So after he punctured the hole in my uterus and I almost died because the hospital sent me home with bottomed out blood sugar, they destroyed my medical records right away. Mississippi has no medical record retention law, so they destroyed my records right away. And so when we moved to Louisiana, I started having pain during intercourse, and so I went to the gynecologist, and they tried to get my medical records from Mississippi and could not. And so they said that my problem was lubrication, so they said to use honey. And I said, my problem is not lubrication, you're a quack, and I'm never seeing you again. And then I went to a different gynecologist, and she said that we'll try you on some birth control, and if the birth control doesn't work, we are not going to do anything because I cannot get your records from Mississippi. So I transferred to yet another gynecologist, and she did a pelvic exam, and she said, your problem is not your uterus, it is your bladder. And said that I had all the symptoms of interstitial cystitis. So she said to get set up with a primary care doctor. So I called a primary care doctor. She said to do a bladder diary and sent me to a urologist. Well, the urologist wasn't able to see me for 3 months. I saw him for 2 minutes. He had horrible bedside manner. And he set up for a cystoscopy and a hydrostension with urethral dilation. Drew. Sorry, that's my son. So 2 weeks later, I had my cystoscopy and hydrostension, and the bedside manner was so bad that my mom wanted to punch the urologist in the face. He set up my follow-up appointment for 3 months later. True. And he put me on Ditropan, in which that was like one of the most horrible experiences ever. So with the Ditropan, it caused me to have severe retention. I took it for 1 week and peed only a total of 2 ounces in an entire week. I went to the emergency. Well, I first called my urologist. He said, follow up with your primary care doctor and quit taking Ditropan. 2 ounces in 1 week. And I followed up with my primary care doctor. They said go to the emergency room now. And so I went to the emergency room. They had me sitting in the waiting room for 45 minutes. I was in excruciating crying pain. They finally gave me a catheter. They were able to get out 189 milliliters, and they gave me a rescue installation. And once I got home, I peed 2,000 milliliters in less than 15 minutes after I got home. I went to my follow-up primary care doctor appointment the next morning. I'd lost 2 pounds. It turns out I had 2 pounds of fluids in me. So the emergency room had prescribed me hyoscyamus, which I found out is my best friend for bladder spasms because they were unable to pull up my bladder on the bladder ultrasound machine. And after that horrible incident, I switched urologists to one that I found I really liked. My first appointment that I went to him, he diagnosed me with severe pelvic floor dysfunction, the most severe that he has seen in 15 years, and prescribed vaginal Valium suppositories, which is even painful to insert the vaginal Valium suppositories. My primary care doctor at that time had decided she was no longer practicing, so I had to switch to another primary care doctor. At my urologist appointment, he suggested a hysterectomy might help fix some of my problems. So I went to my gynecologist. She refused to do a hysterectomy, so I had to find a gynecologist who would do a hysterectomy. So I found a gynecologist that did a hysterectomy, and he recommended a total. So I had that done. My surgery went perfectly fine, no problems, except they couldn't wake me up from anesthesia. But, so after my surgery, it made my pelvic floor dysfunction much worse because any kind of surgical, anything in the pelvic region makes pelvic floor dysfunction. Oh my God. My urologist had first referred me to a pelvic floor physical therapist. I was able to go to her twice before I had my hysterectomy, and then once I got cleared from my gynecologist, I went to my urologist again, so I was ready to go back. He said that there's nothing more that he can do. He's not able to do installations at his office or anything, so he referred me to a specialist in New Orleans, about a little bit over an hour away, an area I don't drive. So my mom's got to take me. My primary care doctor said that she felt bad because he wasn't able to do anything, so she prescribed Flexeril for me to take on top of the vaginal Valium, and lidocaine, which it really helps, and lidocaine prolicaine combination, and that makes everything numb. But right now, like I said, I'm at the park with my son, and there's no toilet. Oh my God, I'm freaking out. Hoping I don't go home soaking wet because I have no way to pee, and I have to pee. Unfortunately, pelvic floor physical therapy is making the frequency much worse. So I'm going to pee about 17 to 18 times in a 24-hour time period, and about 6 or 7 during the night. Hopefully at my appointment at my specialist, which is a urogynecologist, will make a difference. Wish me luck.